Welcome back. We've got another tutorial for you, and guess what? I've been out shopping and I've got a vintage container. Now I have got a few videos to come with some new containers that you can buy through Amazon, but I'm back to my trusty, much loved vintage containers. Now I do believe this is an Art Deco flower pot, but if anybody's got any more information, then comment in the box below and let me know. But I'm quite confident it's from the 1920s and it would have been used as a plant pot. So there's a hole in the middle. I'm going to arrange this in floral foam. I was toying with the idea of creating a design using wire mesh, but the floral foam videos are far more popular. They have a lot more views, they have more comments, and they have more likes. So let me know in the comment box below what you prefer to watch, whether you like foam or you like to see both, or whether you prefer me to use a more sustainable option. And what I might do is redo this, but using wire mesh. So recreate it, but without the floral foam. And if you want me to do that, pop it in the comment box below. Let me know if you want to see me redo it again. Now I have literally, within the last hour, picked this up from a charity shop that I was walking past on my sort of morning break. And the colour, I was instantly attracted to the colour because I've got some hydrangeas that have been left from a job that we did on the weekend. I've only got two. I know many of you will want me to use odd numbers, 3s and 5s, but I've only got two, and they're going to be used pretty much in my focal point. And then I'm going to do that shape that I really quite like, which is a little asymmetrical, which I think suits the flower choice that I've got today. I've got fairly small flowers, nothing that's too imposing or too large. It's a fairly standard size and shape. So I'm thinking my flower choice is going to work quite well with it today. I'm going to start by adding some weight here to the base of the container. So I'll start by adding my hydrangeas to the base, but first of all we'll have a look at the floral foam. Now it's just half a block of pre-soaked floral foam that happened to fit quite snugly in that container, and I've got it below the edge of my vase or my plant pot, whatever you want to call it. That means I'm going to have far less foam to cover, so this area here isn't going to become too heavy and too cluttered with lots of greenery. So I've tried to take a bit of inspiration from the colour on the side of the container. We've got pinks, there is an orangey, quite a dark orange colour, which I think is meant to be a rose, but it's a bit hard to tell. There's some softer blue flowers, very similar to forget-me-nots, but I don't have all of those flowers available, but I have been inspired by those colours. Right, so let's get started. We're going to start with some of the hydrangeas quite close to the base. These are going to give me that focal point and that more dominant section at the base. And what I'm not going to do, and you can probably tell me exactly what I'm not going to do because you've watched lots of my tutorials, I'm not going to place them so they're going to look like headlights, really symmetrically placed, which looks quite artificial. I'm going to place them so that they're offset alongside one another. They're quite small hydrangeas, and if you're part of my Facebook group called Sharon's Innovations Group, you would have seen the unboxing just after the delivery arrived. But they're quite small hydrangeas. They originally were bought to go in a wedding bouquet, so they're quite small and they're quite neat. If you had bigger hydrangeas, you might want to split them down. You could, if you had more, bring one to the back to give you some weight there at the back. And I'm going to reuse some of the hydrangea foliage. There is a little discoloration on the outside, so I won't use that one, but I will use the one that was closer to the flower head itself. And these are going to help cover my foam, and they're also going to bring some visual weight to the front of the arrangement, just to help me create a bit more of a focal point or a more dominant section. Now we are in the autumn, and as I said that, it's just started to rain, so you could well have hydrangeas in your garden. If you're from a warmer part that's heading into the spring, then you might want to think about using tulips or a shop-bought carnation or chrysanthemum there in the front. So that's my sort of heavier base in at the bottom. Now I'm going to start extending out towards the side, and I'm going to start first of all by using some spray roses. Again, these are left over from a couple of little jobs we did on Saturday, and these are going to help create that nice shape. Now this is quite a square base, so rather than doing an exaggerated sort of crescent, I'm going to come up more straighter on the side. I'm still going to do an asymmetrical design, so it's going to be taller on one side, but I'm squaring it off a little bit more so that it matches with my container. So I'm going to leave this one nice and tall. If we think about proportions, I'm going to try and go twice the width of my container. So I've got a bit of greenery, which hopefully will elevate that. And if we have a look at the foam, I've started right at the front with my hydrangeas, and I've worked towards the back with my flowers that are giving me the height. And we've got a little bit of that asymmetrical balance. So we're taller on one side and shorter on the other. I haven't yet filled in at the back, but we'll do that right towards the end. And I'm almost going to join the dots. So we've got 2 flowers on the higher point. Now with the remainder of the spray rose, I'm going to stagger that colour down, round the front and back up on the opposite side. If you don't have a lovely little spray rose like I have, this could be a spray carnation, but we're trying to link the colour from one side to the other. Now the length of my spray rose is about 50 centimetres, so I can't go any taller with my flowers than that. But I'm going to use some greenery. I've got some eucalyptus, which maybe will extend the height. If not, I'll find something else. The leaves here in the centre are a bit distracting. They're drawing your eye away from the main focal flower, so just going to snip off a few of those. And you can see there's a gap between this one and the rose here at the bottom, so we're going to look to place one in this section here, but avoiding placing it so it's directly in line with this rose here. So we're going to stagger it slightly higher or slightly lower, and that's going to hopefully give me a really nice outline. So we're just going to work this one in the middle here, and then I'm probably going to break a few down into shorter pieces just to link the front section here. That fits in quite well in that position, and I'm just now going to look to add a single flower. So off the stem of the spray rose, I'm going to take an individual head and just pop it down in between the hydrangeas so that we're connecting the dots again. If you think about that dot to dot puzzle, then these pretty delicate little spray roses are all connected together so that your eye is naturally drawn from one side to the next. Now to pick up a little bit on the orangey, sort of corally orange that's at the front, I've got some lovely Euphobia. Now you might not be quite so familiar with this one. This is a flower that we generally see around Christmas time here in the UK, and it's part of the Euphobia family, so it's related to the poinsettia. And when I cut it, we're going to have that white sap exuding out from the stem. Now that can be an irritant, can cause you to itch. If you have any allergies, I would suggest wearing some gloves. If I just show you in the close-up camera, you can just see that white sap coming out there of the Euphobia. Now what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to take off that side shoot so that I've got a nicer shape flower. So I'm going to remove this side one, and now that's creating a sort of an imaginary curve which is going to sit nicely on the right hand side of the arrangement. It's going to tuck in quite nicely in between those spray roses. And if you haven't got multiple flowers like I have, then just fill in with more spray carnations or spray chrysanthemums. Now this one unfortunately is not quite tall enough to give me any extra height in the arrangement, but what I can do is do the same sort of technique. Just take off a few of the heads that are facing in the wrong direction, and then we can fit them in that little gap there, so the colour is starting to really be drawn down towards the front. I can use these smaller pieces in and around the front, just like I did with the little spray rose. They are quite short, so you might not be able to pick them up on the camera, but it's a good way of using up these short little stems to help evenly spread out that lovely orange colour. If we look at it again, there's a big gap between this orange and the orange at the bottom. So we're going to do that same method, just fit another piece, take off any side shoots or any leaves that are distracting, and then I can slide that in. And I'm really trying to contain the overall shape and size of my arrangement within the size of my container. So I'm not going too wide and losing that really pretty pattern and the vivid blue colour that's in my base. A couple of little shorter ones just to tuck in there on the side. And now I've only got one stem of the Euphobia left, so I need to get a few pieces in this part of the arrangement and a few pieces over there. So now I've got to think quite creatively on how I can do that. And what I'm going to do is cut it in half, so I have a longer piece to go on this side here, and then I have a shorter piece to go on the opposite side, and then my colour is more evenly balanced. The orange is quite a vibrant colour. It's going to show up quite distinctively on the camera, and that now has given me a really lovely outline shape. I mentioned right at the very beginning that I have a flower that you might not have seen before, and this has come in for some specialist work that we're doing this week. Those of you that are in Australia will know this very well. In any country that grows eucalyptus. Now this is what I call gumnuts. I'm not quite sure if that's the correct terminology, but when we want to buy this through the online suppliers, we order it as eucalyptus gumnuts. And because I didn't have a great deal of the blue colour in because I only had 2 of the hydrangeas, I thought this would be a really good colour and a shape of flower to complement the colour scheme and to give me a little bit of extra height. So now I'm going to try and find one that's long enough to create a bit more height on this one side. Now the little gumnuts here are quite often used in Christmas wreath making. It's a really unusual texture, it's a beautiful, delicate sort of colour, and it's really going to help me get that colour all the way from the front to the back. Now I don't like this one on the side because it's a bit too curved and my design is fairly straight. So just cutting that and bringing it lower down is going to prevent the eye being drawn out too far on the side. And then I'm going to repeat that on the opposite side with a slightly shorter one. These ones are naturally quite curved, but if I tuck them in amongst the other flowers, that curved shape isn't too exaggerated. I don't want to make too much of a crescent shape. I like the straight edges to match with my container. So I've gone down one side and back up the other, and with the smaller pieces that I've got left, I'm going to tuck them in towards the front. If you can't get hold of anything like this, then just think of a small flower that looks and does the same job. It might be a berry that you've got in your garden, it could be another colour spray carnation, but essentially everything that I've got in here are round shaped flowers. So we've got round spray roses, round hydrangeas. The only thing that I've got that creates a bit of a line is the Euphobia that I've used to add in the height and strengthen my sides. Now I did also have some Veronica to use, which is this lovely flower here. I don't think I'm going to add it in because I think it's going to get too cluttered and a little bit too heavy. But what I am going to do is I'm going to use this final rose. That one's not quite such a good quality. We'll use this one, and I'm going to tuck this one quite low towards the back just so that we bring some of the pink colour in amongst where those 2 hydrangea heads are. That of course is going to draw your eye backwards. You know by now, I keep telling you in every tutorial. I did mention that I was probably going to use some eucalyptus, but I'm thinking it's going to be too heavy and it's going to spoil that nice shape that I've created. So instead I'm going to use some more of the spare hydrangea leaves just to tuck in here at the back to cover my floral foam. The hydrangea leaves are really good for lasting, and they're going to do a really good job there at the back. I do have a nice selection here of eucalyptus, but I'm thinking it's going to be a bit of a waste just tucked in the back where you can't see it. So a few leaves right at the back there is going to finish off their design. And I've got one leaf from the hydrangea here at the front, which is quite visible. I'm going to remove that because there wasn't anything to balance or match it on the opposite side. So a simple little arrangement for today in colours to match my new vintage container. If you want to see this done with wire netting, so we get a slightly looser and less formal pattern, pop it in the box below and I can prepare a video for you. So thanks as ever for watching. I've forgotten to mention that you really need to subscribe to the channel. Click that notification box so that you can be told every time I upload a new tutorial. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, and join me if you want to on my private Sharon's Innovations group on Facebook. Pop over to the website and see what courses we're running, and stay till the end of the video so that you could get to see some close-ups and some still photos of the finished design. Thanks for watching and we'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.